Hey, it's Kelsey. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, we work on finding your inner roar. I'm so happy to have you if you have been on my channel before. And if you haven't, we are all about finding your inner voice, finding your purpose. I just wanted to talk about limiting beliefs. And I feel like a lot of us don't realize how many limiting beliefs that we have. There's definitely like a tree trimmer right beside me. So hopefully this doesn't interfere with my video. I really hope so. Regardless, we're gonna keep going. A lot of us have limiting beliefs. We don't really realize that these limiting beliefs all end up contributing to who you are as a person in the future. But they're also formed and put into like your subconscious, which is the part that activates in your body when you have gone through any experience as a kid or even younger adults as well, I believe. It goes into your subconscious, and your subconscious is activated regardless of if it's a threat or if it's not a threat. At the time, it thinks that it is the present time. It has no concept of time. So that is the biggest thing, is that it has no concept of time whatsoever. Your body just goes into those fight or flight responses right away. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by these people around me. The biggest thing that your subconscious is always activated regardless of if it's a threat in the here and now or if it's a threat from the past. It acts as if it's here and now. Or even if it's something you're thinking about in the future, it acts as here and now. So, one of the biggest things that I have discovered in therapy is just how many limiting beliefs you can have. You can have a whole list of limiting beliefs, and they all stem from certain things that your parents or your caregivers' ways of parenting you stemmed into your inner being and your inner subconscious. I think for me, some of the biggest ones was like, I feel stuck, I feel unworthy, I feel like I don't have a voice, I don't feel seen. If we want to dive into some of these, like the I feel stuck comes from parents being helicopter parents, or parents being in control a lot and not like allowing you to go into the world with that confidence that you are someone that has that confidence to discern how the world is. I think that that is a very valuable skill that you learn, for sure. It can stem into so many different things. It can stem into all the little areas of your life. Like even as a child going to school, where you think that you aren't maybe good at something, so you stop doing it because you feel stuck, and then it creates overwhelm. Limiting beliefs are like a wild thing, a really wild thing. Like the biggest takeaway from limiting beliefs is that you have to start there in order to dive deeper into that path of empowerment and that path of creating your inner being. And I think that that is a big thing that happens. Your inner being can be something so, it seems insignificant, but it's very, very important, because those limiting beliefs stem into every single part of your life, regardless of if you consciously or subconsciously think about it, which I think is absolutely insane. So that's something that I think is just a wild analogy, is that your inner being is very, very, very affected by all of these things as you grow up. feel like I'm very distracted. So I'm gonna finish this up in my house. My brain can't focus when there's things going on around me. I think that limiting beliefs hold us back from a lot of things. It can hold us back from the love that we've wanted in our relationships. It can hold us back from the job that we've always wanted. It can hold us back from just doing our dreams. And I feel like that is something that is a big part of your life that you shouldn't. Well, actually, it's a big part of the life that I lived in the past. Limiting beliefs were a big thing, and I didn't really realize this until I started reading a whole bunch of self-help books, self-development books, and just really diving into the personal journey that I had going on within myself. And I wanted to share what limiting beliefs I had, and I still have them. I've just been working on better changing up that mindset about these limiting beliefs, and maybe even looking at where they've come from, because our limiting beliefs start with our inner child, and our inner child gets developed as we're growing up. Our inner child is everywhere with us. Your little you influences you in the choices you're making, even today. And even if you're older, younger, like, you still have your inner child. Those limiting beliefs come from imprints that you gathered as a younger child. Imprints really sway your beliefs and your decisions and all these different things about yourself. So I wanted to get into my top 5 limiting beliefs. Maybe you relate. So the top 5 limiting beliefs that I have picked out. First one was I'm all alone. How that made me feel was that I was the only one going through a journey like this. And while that is true, because we are all very unique individuals, there are very big portions of your life that are similar to other people's. And so you're not alone. You're never alone. And even if the people around you don't quite get your journey and what you have encountered or been on, there is still going to be someone in the world that has gone through something similar. It might not be the same. It's definitely going to be something that you can relate to or they can relate to. So my limiting belief of being all alone comes from a few parts. Being all alone comes from being raised as an only child. Being an only child can really make you have those moments where you're like, wow, I am the only one doing this. I am playing Monopoly with myself. I am playing cards with myself. I am creating imaginary friends just to play these things. And while that's not a bad thing, it's a very good thing actually, it definitely can make you feel alone. The other biggest part that made me have that limiting belief come up was going through a really bad car accident. I started to feel like I was the only one that had been through a car accident like this and had survived. That just created a whole spin on exactly how I was feeling. Your limiting beliefs can really contribute to your inner emotions at the time. I started to realize that I'm not all alone. There's always going to be someone that understands. There's always going to be a small portion of people that can relate to you in some way or another. That's why I think that that is a big belief that we probably share. Another one that I wanted to share is I can't rely on anyone. And I think that a lot of us can relate to this one. It comes from a very independent household. So if one or two of your parents was always doing everything on their own, you as a child learned that you can do it on your own too. And then you start to think that you can't ask for help. Who asks for help? You can't do that. Like, you have to do everything on your own. I think that also plays into the first one. That feeling that you can't rely on anyone is somewhat a lack of trust as well. If your trust was ever broken by somebody, you will have that feeling of, I can't rely on anyone. For me, a big part of it was going through a very emotionally domestic abuse situation. And I know that this can be triggering for some people. I knew that I was the only one that I could rely on in that situation to ever get me through. I became really independent. I was always the one figuring out my own wages, figuring out my own jobs. I didn't want to rely on anyone else in that situation because it scared me to give up any sense of power. I also really couldn't rely on him. There was many things that were told to me that were lies. It just started to trigger this belief that I couldn't rely on anyone. It trickled down into everything, really. It trickled down into my own friendships. It trickled down into my relationships in the future. It trickled down to so many different things, and even into things like asking someone to help me move something. I still struggle with that. I still think that I have to move it all by myself, from one room to another. Just struggle and get it done. That's really not healthy because we can't be struggling all the time. There's a reason why humans are the way they are. Humans are very interactive beings. We need to have interaction with one another. We just do. Asking for help from someone is not a sign of weakness. Relying on someone is not a sign of weakness. But there are many circumstances where I felt like that was a weakness. And so, we are learning that that is a limiting belief. The third limiting belief for me was I was not loved completely. Well, I know that you can have a really great childhood growing up. You can also have things happen where you don't think you're ever going to be loved completely by somebody. It really is a disheartening thing when you think that you can't be loved. Because we are all love. We are all worthy. Ever before anything ever happened to us, ever. I can't be loved completely is definitely a limiting belief, and I think a lot of that stems from being bullied as a kid or having little things happen here and there that you had to do something to be loved. Being loved completely is like an embodiment of who you are in any form. So if you're, say, someone that you think is like, you have to do something in order to be loved versus just being and being loved. There's a big difference, and quite a few of us experience both types of love in our growing up stages. There are a few where we really didn't get loved unless there was something we did. This is why I wanted to say that you do not need to do anything to be loved. You can be exactly who you are because you are always worthy, and don't let anyone ever tell you that you are not enough and you're not worthy and you're not loved, because you are all of those things. It all starts from within us. So that self-belief and that self-love will trickle into your future. As soon as you let your younger child know that you are loved and you're worthy, you will start to believe that for yourself because you're the adult telling that kid. And then that love is the greatest of all things, and you will then be more open to receiving that love back. I think that completes number 3? Yeah. Number 4 is that I feel ignored. I feel ignored. That is a big one because I think a lot of that comes from school. Because if you feel ignored, well, I guess if you feel ignored by your parent too. So if you feel ignored by your parent or by a teacher or by friends, then that can trickle down into a bigger feeling. bigger feeling later on in life where you're like, I feel ignored. And that limiting belief will make you not want to do anything outward. So that feeling of feeling ignored will make you want to not reach out and do something more public, or it won't make you want to ask to have your feelings validated in a relationship. It'll also have you holding back exactly how you feel at a workplace because you feel ignored. That limiting belief is like, where does that come from? If you feel ignored, that doesn't mean everyone is ignoring you. That just means that is how you're viewing what other people think of you. We don't need to be validated by everybody around us to feel how we are and to know how we are. So that feeling of validation is one that we seek, and seeking validation is never going to help how you feel within you, how your inner child feels. You're gonna have to find out and talk to your inner child about how that feeling is becoming in your outward world, because that way you'll be able to understand where that feeling came from. The fifth and last limiting belief, that was the top limiting beliefs, is I don't know if I'm capable. I don't know if I am capable. I think a good portion of that comes from not being able to try everything that you want to as a kid. So if you start to do something that might be like slightly dangerous, but you weren't let to do it and find out that it is slightly dangerous, then that kind of shows you like, oh, I don't know if I'm capable. And yes, I think there's some things that need to be like preemptively stopped, because that won't be a good outcome. But the things that are within reason could be allowed to happen so that your child can learn, or your inner child can learn. Now, as we're older and we are retraining our inner child to understanding where these limiting beliefs are coming from, we can reach in and talk to our inner child and say, hey, I know you feel like you aren't capable, but what makes you feel like you aren't capable if we haven't tried? If we haven't done one of these things that you don't think you're capable of and seen what result we can have. Because a lot of the times we just get overwhelmed, and so we say we don't think we're capable. That overwhelming feeling is just a sense of fear. And if we always live in fear, we'll never accomplish anything that we've wanted to do. I think a big thing with these limiting beliefs is a lot of them start out of fear. Fear is what holds you back from your truest potential in this world. It is a belief or a feeling that we have made to create a sense of doubt. And that fear is like your ego trying to hold you back. Because if it holds you back, we know we're safe here. We know you're safe if you don't do it. We know you're safe if you don't do it. But what if you do it? What if you do it and it starts blossoming and blooming into that thing that you are meant to be doing? Because you yourself know that you're meant to be doing it. You do. You know that. I think a big part of our limiting beliefs is that fear. So the moment that we start to say, hey, why are we fearful of this? Why? And we look at it and we're like, that's just a belief that's trying to keep us safe. But if we take that safety and we just have some precautions on the side, and we still take one step, next step, next step, next step, before you know it, you'll be at least like 10 steps farther than you ever would have gone, because you put that fear to the side and you said, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna break it out into steps, and we're gonna then create this new reality. Because now you've shown yourself that that was just a fear holding you back. You'll start to live in your truest potential. Those limiting beliefs are the biggest mountain right in front of you when you're first starting this journey. I think that's the most beautiful thing, because once you start seeing that these are just little obstacles even if they feel like big obstacles, that you can start to reach your truest potential. I hope you related some of these points. So if you'd like to work with me, I have a link down below and we can see if we'd be good to work together. Please put any comments down below as to some of your limiting beliefs, because I'm curious and I'd love to be able to respond and talk and maybe even create another video in relation to those limiting beliefs to see where we can recenter your mind. So I hope you're having a wonderful day. I will see you all in the next video. I love you. Let's try this again. We got some marks on our eyes. We looking great today.